Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast is a Christ-centered podcast. Established in 2019 and hosted weekly by Pastor Chris Busher. Addressing a host of topics such as the Great Commission, Christian discipleship, and often featuring interviews with special guests who are experts in their field. The views and events expressed on this podcast and all related materials belong solely to their author and not necessarily to the author's employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. While all attempts are made to present accurate information, some information may become outdated over time. Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast makes every attempt to timely update any and all such information. Without further delay, here's another powerful episode of Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast. My name is Dallas. Once again, we have another amazing episode today with some amazing people. As you can see, I'm sitting here with my wife. This is not normal. This is Marceli. I think you guys have probably heard from her once or twice on the podcast. And so she's here today. This is just a God moment that's happening today. Today we have Jonathan and Irene joining us. Hello, guys. How are you?
Hey, yeah, very well. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us, actually.
It's our pleasure. It's our pleasure. And this is going to be a great episode. We're going to talk about your Christian jewelry that you guys are selling on Amazon and how this has been inspired and some of those details and some of your testimony and what God has been doing in your life. And so before we get going, I just want to allow you guys to share a little of your story. Tell us a little bit about how you met, what you guys do, how you met God, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, so it has been a while actually. We met in 2008. Just did the school bit of Netherlands countryside. By that time I had been living in the Netherlands for around 4 years. I came to the Netherlands to study, and Jonathan was born in the Netherlands, of course. So yeah, we met during this discipleship training school. At first, it was a little bit like, we were kind of, talking to each other, but we were not completely into each other. But then we went on a mission trip to Kyrgyzstan and Tajikistan, which is like in Central Asia.
Yeah.
And yeah, we were doing ministry with teenagers and young girls, and we had to, prepare workshops and things together for church services. And I guess we started to warm up to each other a little bit. And then a few months into our outreach, we were like, I think we like each other a bit. And Jonathan kind of asked me, whether I would be interested in getting to know him. And, and then we just picked it up from there, We got married 3 years ago during the pandemic, which was a challenge, but also really beautiful just to make it work out,
And this is actually why I brought my wife, because we were married the same time. We got married 1 week before the pandemic shut down, and we were on our honeymoon when they started closing down shops and closing down beaches, and they're like, hey, you got to go. And I'm like, this is our honeymoon. I'm going to stay.
Yeah, what is this? Yeah.
What was that like for you guys, getting married during the pandemic?
Wow, very challenging. Actually, we wanted to get married in June. So that was 2020. And we wanted to get married, but we were like, the pandemic, that's not really working out. So we actually postponed it to November. So what happened is, the second wave came. So we got the same situation.
Yeah.
So we decided to keep it that date in November. So it was the 14th of November. We got married that day, and the pandemic here, definitely in Netherlands. Well, actually, the restrictions, they were really, they were at the worst at that moment, So
like we had to cut down the people from 50 to 30 in the last week, like the week of our marriage, to 20. So we had to cancel people coming from Italy, friends. Yeah, it was a bit sad, to be honest. To say, sorry, you cannot come anymore. That was quite hard, I think.
Yeah, it is tough. That is tough. Ours was like the other side where people came back and everyone was like, you were just in Brazil. Like, I don't know if I want to talk to you, for my family that came from the States. And so it was, getting married in the pandemic is a wild thing, because you're right. It was beautiful, but also strange, because we've been married for 3 years, but it feels like it's been 10, because we've been together every single day, every single minute since we got married. And I wouldn't change it for anything. That's why I got married, right? But there are challenges inside of it. And so,
Yeah.
how about you, Jonathan? What about you? Your wife shared a little bit.
My story as a believer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, actually, I grew up in the Netherlands. I'm Dutch, in the east of the Netherlands. I come from a Christian family, and my brother he has special needs. He has autism, actually. So he always had a bit more. My parents gave him. He had just in need of a lot of attention, to say it like that. And also because I was bullied in school, that was not really. That was tough on me. So I guess I felt really rejected as a kid. But because of those things. And I guess as a teenager, started drinking a lot and smoking a lot. Also with a friend, actually, just to forget everything, right? And I guess I was also filled with a lot of anger, really those things, rejection, anger, really lonely. Just wanted to get away from everything. Yeah. And still remember my parents sent me to this Christian camp, this Christian summer camp. And I was, I think, 15 or 16 years old. And it was this setting of this worship moment there. And everybody was, worshiping. And at a certain moment, I just remember having my hands out and reaching out. First time, actually, that I did that and did not know what was happening. I saw some people doing that. I was like, hey, I want to come close to the Lord. If this is real. So I did. And something happened to me, I just felt really touched inside, really hit. And all I remember is having a picture in front of me of a sort of a countryside just filled with snow and just somewhere far away in the midst of it and a cross. And I just sort of understood in that moment I was forgiven and that he really cares, he loves. And just the opposite of those other feelings, right? That I was really accepted and really belong now to him. I guess to the family of God, but also really to God. And that was really great. That was amazing. So,
that's my favorite part of hearing testimonies, is the part where after you come to Christ, the depression goes away, those addictions go away. And because a lot of people share their testimony and it's a lot about, I was doing this and this and this, and it's almost glorifying sin. But when you get to the part where it's like restoration, hope, joy, transformation, that's the best part of the testimony. And so for all of our listeners today who feel like they don't have a testimony, you do. Everyone has a testimony. If it's just a story, give the glory to God. It's a testimony now. And talk about what God has done, not about what you did before.
Man.
So thank you for sharing your testimony a little bit, Jonathan and Irene. And so let's bridge the gap from that to now you guys are Christian jewelers. You have this amazing necklace that you guys are selling on Amazon. And so what inspired this? What started this? And let's talk about that a little bit more.
You want to say something about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the idea of having a jewelry line came also during lockdown, because Jonathan works in healthcare. So he was kind of, balancing working in healthcare in a very interesting time. And we were just thinking about maybe, having a side business. So the idea came to, just create something that would reflect on values, but also something of quality that we could, sell on Amazon. And, so I personally really enjoy jewelry. So the idea was to just put into like a nice piece of, jewelry, like symbols, because of course, girls usually, when they see something they like, they go like, hey, look at this, you wanna see it. And then they always share a message and why they bought it and something like that. So, I don't know. It just kind of came natural to start designing this necklace with 3 symbols, and each symbol has a meaning, of course. And and then the packaging came along, and I don't know. It just
you guys were very intentional about every piece of the design, from the packaging to the symbols on it. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But just to ask this question.
You're listening to the Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast. We'll be right back after this quick word from our sponsors.
So you said there's 3 symbols. Tell us a little bit about what that is.
Yeah, so there's a heart, there's a cross, and there's a crown. And really what it represents is the cross, just basically the gospel, what Jesus had done, and little bit of my testimony, what I just shared, that he really died for us and took our sin away, and that we have a new life with him. And that is a very serving thing, also sort of a reminder. All those symbols are reminders, just small, subtle reminders, actually, like, yeah, I do belong to the Lord. I do have a family, I am accepted. And that's where the cross comes in. But the others are not too far away from it either. Like, the heart is, of course, God's love, which is very central, very key. And it makes me think of scriptures like, I don't know exactly from the heart though, but, that we can't love, without he loving us first, right? We can love actually because he loves us. And that's to me something very fascinating, and it says something how great he is and how great his love is, for the world. And that he embraces and welcomes everyone who comes to him, and through faith. I think that's an amazing thing. And then there's a crown, which represents also sort of highness about the Lord, about God, the King of Kings. And that is something very fascinating, I find. And that it also reflects something that we belong to him, sort of in that sonship or daughtership, or I think that's in a small way a little bit to describe it. And again, it represents all of them as well as a reminder, and that you belong to the Lord, that you are accepted, that you are a Christian.
Yeah. And of course, when you wear this, people will see it. And as you said, Irene, it starts a conversation and it tells a story. And so the packaging also tells a story. So tell us a little bit about what you guys did with the packaging.
Yeah. So first of all, there is, I have it here. So we have a logo in the very front, which is a windmill with a little heart in the middle. And the windmill, of course, represents the country where, we live in the Netherlands. There's a lot of windmills here in the Netherlands. And we designed it so that, it would be all complete. Like you basically don't have to gift wrap this package. And then you see, the brand, and inside there is a little quote, which is, you have a grain of love, please pass it on. So the idea is that, you are reminded by, buying this necklace and wearing it. And, you're also sharing a little testimony. And and everything is nicely decorated with little polka dots, and, it's all very nice and girly. So you can just give it as it is, as a gift, as a present. And yes, and of course it speaks about us too. We wanted to make it very personal.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
And so this is the first of many to come. The first design of many to come?
Really hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be really lovely to design maybe, another like necklace in another color, or maybe a bracelet, earrings. We're definitely thinking already about ideas.
When you go into jewelry, I think there's a lot, you could go a long way into it. I don't know much, like she would be better at this, but I'm sure once you open that door, there's a lot that you can do with the design. I'm sure.
Yeah. And we're also definitely open, if somebody who is listening right now would have ideas or whatever, we're definitely open to hear.
Yeah, very much.
Receive ideas.
You have any questions about the jewelry or?
Isn't that amazing? I was saying, because in the middle of so many ungodly things in this world, and this jewelry just shows the love of God for other people and gives a testimony. And nowadays, when we buy something, sometimes we don't even know that symbol, it's something like that is gonna curse your house. Like, this is horrible, but you guys are actually doing something for the Lord, and that blesses the people that are gonna wear, the people that are gonna buy, and that's beautiful. Instead of buying something that curses you, they had to throw away. So it's amazing that you dedicate your work, you put your work, your design, your prayer into some object that is going to bless other people.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And that's exactly what we intend and hope to do, actually. Yes.
Yeah. Is it everything for the Lord, right?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Do you guys
Yeah.
have any testimonies of people who have received this as a gift in the process or things like that?
Well, we do have a customer left a review recently, which was really cool. That yeah, she bought it and she really liked it. She got compliments of others, and that's what she shared also in the review. And then she said like she bought three more for her sisters and her mother, uh, just because she was so enthusiastic about it. But I really liked the part that she said like others complimented her, and that they see something about it which is valuable, which which peaks. And yeah, it was really cool review. Yeah.
What I think is so valuable about it is you put so much thought into it. You every single piece, from the packaging to the design to the symbols, every single thing has been thought out and prepared. And like Marcelo said, to glorify God. I mean, what is better than that? And so I think that's amazing. And I hope you guys are inspired and continue to make other pieces of design and bracelets, necklaces, earrings, things like that. So you continue to bless.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and actually also wanted to say that this, creating this product, creating this necklace came also in a point of our faith journey where we were experiencing some deserts actually. So having to, going through this whole process of like thinking and praying, God, can you lead us? Can you help us to create a good product? Also did help us to stay close to the Lord in a moment where things were not going so well because, we didn't have a great experience with our old church and, just the loneliness of lockdown and everything.
Yeah.
So it also for us, it really, even just having this conversation with you guys now about this necklace, it's just like the Lord was so there, He really was leading us in this. So it is constantly a reminder of His goodness and His presence in our lives. And however this will go, we are just so thankful and so blessed, by this whole journey that we could go through with Him. And yeah.
Awesome.
Really
Well, thank you guys so much for sharing your story, a little bit about your necklace. And where can our audience find this necklace?
Where can they find it?
They can find it if you go to Amazon.com. Then you can type in Grains of Love. That's the brand, Grains of Love. Just put necklace there, Grains of Love necklace. And you will find it pretty quick. It has multiple charms, multiple symbols. So you find it very quick in the pictures that you see out there. But to make it even easier, maybe we can add the link.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. That will be fantastic. People can see it. You can see actually directly. If you would leave a review, it will be fantastic. You don't have to, of course, but also we would love to hear what we can do to improve. Thank you. Just looking for the word. But also, indeed, like you said, maybe new ideas, suggestions for the future. That would also be super cool and very welcome as well.
Amazing.
That's
amazing. So I wanted to focus on that. I wanted to put the necklace out there and have our audience be able to see that. But I want to go into another direction if you guys are willing. And just let's talk about marriage, because I think it's so unique that you guys are newly married from different countries and we're newly married from different countries. And I feel like there's a lot that we can discuss and learn from each other. And so do you guys feel okay with doing that?
definitely.
Yeah,
I like it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so first off, my first question, what were the challenges of ministry together in Asia whenever you were doing your YWAM together? You weren't married, right? But you guys were getting to know each other and trying to figure it out. What were the biggest challenges in that season for you guys as two interested people?
Well, for sure. Remember, by YWAM, you're not allowed to have a relationship during the outreach or even the lecture phase whatsoever. So we had to be very careful with that, but it was also really fun. Actually, because of that carefulness, which is actually also really good, it helped us to ask a lot of questions and really get to know each other.
As friends,
Yeah. Also because of our past relationships, and some of them didn't went so well, we were very curious, like, hey, but how did you experience that? How did you experience that? And we, through those questions and conversations, and Irene is a fantastic person who asked questions. Yeah, and it was just really, really good, really helpful to me, and I think to both of us. And that's also how we came, closer to each other. It was a really good time. Yeah.
Irene, anything to add on that?
Yeah, no, I just remember that. I think because of the countries where we were in, it, you are surrounded by a culture where men and women, they usually kind of be more segregated. So I found it quite difficult sometimes to really wanted to spend time with you all the time, and being like, I don't know, we could only go out in groups kind of thing, but I want to spend time with you. I want to get to know him. So that was for me a little bit difficult, that it was not so socially acceptable, let's say, to spend one-on-one unless you were married. And of course, we didn't want to break social rules either.
Right.
Yeah, there was a bit of a struggle, I have to say.
It's so funny because we can relate to you in a different way, because whenever I was doing my YWAM, we were talking on Instagram. And so and then when I went to Asia, I was like, hey, you're interesting, but I have to go. Like, I can't talk much because I'm going to be in Asia. I don't know about the Wi-Fi situation. And so there were some months where we didn't talk at all. And it was challenging because we were investing to, I was coming to Brazil after. We knew that was going to happen. And so we had that similar friendship. We had that time to get to know each other. And it was so valuable. And I think that's why we got married so quickly once we did meet, because we already knew everything that we needed to know to make that decision. I just needed to know she was real. Right? That's what we needed to do. To just make sure she was real. And it's so cool, this opportunity to get to know the person before you marry them, right? And challenging too. And I can understand the cultural things over in Asia. It is a little bit different than the States. And I'm not sure the Netherlands, the culture of the Netherlands or Italy, but Asia it's a different type of culture. Absolutely.
I think the Netherlands is quite liberal, so they don't really mind. And Italy also, maybe it used to be more traditional, but no, it's definitely not like Asia. But but I also wanted to add that I realized how precious it was indeed, just as you mentioned, just to really having that time that you're not into a relationship, but you just are friends. And because we were doing ministry together with teenagers, we were also bringing topics to the teenagers about relationships, about intimacy as well. And we will get to know each other, and I would know where he would stand about those very important topics, indirectly, but still directly, you know what I mean? So it was really a really good way of getting to know each other, because, also like in that kind of deeper part of our hearts, I guess. So I'm glad that we had at the time of doing ministry together.
Yeah, it's true.
Anything to add to that?
And just think about the friendship and knowing each other as a friendship point of view would be challenging, but also a step of faith, because you have to wait for that person and know that person, get to know that person, and pray and just trust the Lord. One day it's gonna be mine. One day maybe we'll get married. And watch carefully to see if it's really the person that God has for us, right? I think it's important, not like you chose someone, right? And not in that way, but is that the will of God to pursue that person, right?
And with that, talking about doing ministry together, not dating yet, we've experienced this too, where we were really intentional, because I can't speak without a translator here in Brazil. And so we were very intentional. She's not going to translate me when we're not married, because I can, dilute the gospel. And in some way, you never know. You got to be very careful with that. So we were very, very intentional with that. I would have other translators in that moment. But as soon as we got married, bam, she is my translator. And even last night, we got to preach to about 80 or 90 teenagers. And she I spoke English, and she translated into Portuguese. It was amazing. It was an amazing time. And so after we got married, doing ministry with my wife is the best thing that I can experience, because the other translators, it's great. They do great. They translate all the words correctly, but we're one, it's different when we do ministry together. And so I love that. And so have you guys had this opportunity to do ministry together as a married couple?
Well, A little bit in church. Yeah, we moved, so we're also not with the with that church anymore where we served. We're still getting to know this city actually where we live now, and also this church. But we did in another church also there. We did a little bit the teenagers, but it was for a short time because you did most of you were in the worship.
Yeah.
And I did, so I stayed with the teenagers.
Yeah.
But it was very nice at the even though it was a short moment that we could do be there for the teenagers, for them, and especially as a couple, as a married couple.
Yeah.
It's something special about this, like it's hard to describe, but you're sort of more one. Things you say, you can complement each other.
Yeah.
And it also gives a bit more trust, maybe, and not just for a woman to look up woman or a man to look up man, but also for the setting of a couple and a married couple, that is actually possible, and that's also good things. That are also good things about it, and not just divorce or my mom does this and my dad does that. Those things are there, and they need to be respected. But there are also good things, and they are very possible,
Yeah.
the Lord. And it's nice that you can be that, sometimes even without words, very small ways. And but it sounds like now they learn a lot. They learn a lot from us, but it's also the other way around. It's very nice to be with them. And if I speak for myself, I think actually for both of us, we love to learn and yeah.
And kids have so much, also teenagers have so much, they go through so much in life, and
Yes.
we also learned a lot by serving them. Yeah.
Yes.
Our message last night was do not love the world from 1 John chapter 2. And
Great.
Another verse was talking about the double-mindedness, right? Purify your hands, purify your hearts, and remove your double-mindedness. And if I could describe a teenager, it would be double-mindedness. For me as a teenager, for sure, I didn't know what I wanted. Did I want God? Did I want the world? The world's awesome. There's a lot of things, but God is cool too. I don't know. And so our goal last night was just to present the gospel, to help them make this decision to follow Christ and not love the world. That is a false satisfaction, just as you experienced, Jonathan. My testimony too, I was a drug addict when I was a teenager. And then I went through and experienced Christ. And so that was our goal, to help the teenagers make that decision. Stop being double-minded. Stop looking at the world. It's not going to fill you the way God will. And so you're absolutely right. Teenager, it's a special calling to work with teenagers. I don't usually do, but last night I was just blown away by some of them are so hungry. Some of them are so hungry, and others, they're trying to figure it out. But I was blown away by working with them last night.
Some also talked to us at the end, and we noticed, like, I worked with teenagers before. I even married Dallas when I was single, but I know that
when you were single, that's good.
No, before.
Okay.
And then I know that teenagers, they watch the couples, because they want to know, like, how they are gonna be in the future, and they observe you, right? And this leadership, these couples that they are doing ministry, like, they just observe you so much, like, how do they do life, and they notice that you serve God, that you love God, right, or not, so they needed those examples of people, and everything that is presented to them, they are like a sponge. So if you're a strong couple, that you're there and teaching God in certain ways, or speaking, or with your actions, they observe that, right?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting.
I have one more question for Irene. What was it like leaving your country and moving to the Netherlands? Because Marcel is about to experience that move to the States. I have experienced that living in Brazil. And so what was that like for you?
Well, actually, before moving to the Netherlands, I moved to the UK. I lived in the UK 4 years prior to coming here. I did law school in the UK. So I was already a little bit accustomed to Northern European cultures.
Yeah.
But coming to the Netherlands was a whole new thing, because Dutch people are renowned for being very direct. And that was indeed also my experience. Italians and English people are a little bit less direct, and they tend to be more like polite. So they wouldn't say things like, "Oh, in this picture you look fatter than you are now." But these comments I did receive here in the Netherlands, for example. But you just have to look beyond. And then also the language was quite difficult. Like, now it's been a few years, and I really wanted to learn Dutch just for the future, because if we have children, I just want to be able to communicate also with their teachers, and yeah, it really was difficult to learn the language, and I'm
so
still
you speak fluent.
Well, pretty much.
That's
Like,
fast, yeah.
yeah, it is a difficult language again. So I'm struggling with certain things.
Really well,
I understand. It's so tough to learn another language, and when it comes to language learning, I'm lazy because I'm an English teacher, and through the day, I don't want to have one more class, of learning Portuguese. And so I'm not fluent of Portuguese. I've been here for 4 years, but I speak enough to get around and live and do.
Little bit.
No, it's tough. It's tough. And having kids, that's amazing. So you guys expect to live in the Netherlands for the rest of your life, or for the rest of your plans anyway?
Wow, I think we tend to make plans for 2 years or so often. Not there. It's like an ocean. Anything can happen still. But still so far, yeah, we like to stay in the Netherlands. But also still a little bit, there's still that calling in the heart to go out and do missions abroad somewhere.
Yeah.
I actually had a heart for Israel and also the Middle East, actually. But we're in a different phase of our life. We're now married indeed for 3 years. And so it's still that call that it burns still in the heart, that desire to go out there and do missions. But for now it's here for a certain time. Yeah.
We have a son. He's almost 1.5 now. And so we're it's similar, like my son is learning Portuguese and English at the same time, both languages. And so I hope to speak fluently, to at least speak with him, because we hope it's important for us for him to speak Portuguese, because he's Brazilian, so it's important for us, and his grandparents and his other family speaks Portuguese. So I hope to one day be fluent. I'm taking the steps to try to become that, but
get that.
Again, I'm lazy when it comes to language learning, because I'm teaching language all day, so it's a little tough. I want to do that, but anything else you guys want to share today with your time here? It's been such a pleasure to have you guys join us.
Well, it's really cool, really fun that you're also been with YWAM. Do you have any plans for missions, or do you have a certain worldview that you incorporate? How can I say that I miss a few words here, but that is also about other nations, like how do you look at the nations? Like that word nations is quite often big at YWAM, right? So I wonder how you see that, and what kind of meaning that has in your lives. And maybe not at the moment, which is also fine, but just curiosity here.
Yeah, something I actually shared with the teenagers last night was the difference of ministry in Asia with YWAM and the difference of the ministry I'm doing here in Brazil. When I was in Asia, we were doing a ton of street ministry. We would have events and the people would come and things like this. And so and even in the DTS lecture phase, we were in the streets. We would, go to the beaches and tell the gospel and things like this. So it kind of incorporated what is ministry in missions to me. Like I understood this is ministry, this is missions. And I was happy with that. When I came to Brazil, I had the opportunity to preach in churches. And so I wasn't in the streets as much. And so at first I was kind of like complaining with God, like, God, I'm a missionary in Brazil. I'm all alone here, but I'm not fulfilling my ministry because I'm in the church. Like these people know God already. Like, what am I doing here, God? And he helped me understand that even people that come to church don't know me. And it broke my heart because so many people, even in Brazil, because it's the root of Catholicism, that they have this tradition of, I go to church, I give my tithe, I'm a Christian. I was baptized when I was a baby. These types of things are really strong here, and versus in Asia where it's the other religions, of course. And so here I had to understand that the people in the church need to hear from God. And And so last night was an amazing opportunity to help the teenagers understand, to make this decision. I just see the value 4 years later of why God has kept me working in different churches. And I've been able to work outside of denominations. So not a lot of people work in only this denomination or this one, but thank God I've been able to work in tons of different denominations because I don't associate with one specifically. And I don't like this barrier of only this or only that. I just want to preach the gospel. And so I've had that amazing opportunity. And we still go and do some street ministry from time to time. But now, of course, with our son and stuff, it makes it a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely. Yes. I really like what you say about, although it's a bit sad, but it's true that a lot of people in the church, sometimes seems like it's unreached within the church,
Yeah, and that broke my heart because you would expect that they do know the church. They're getting fed every week, but that's the only food that they get. That's the crappy part, is that's the only God that they're receiving in the week is a 45-minute church service when my biggest message here has been consume God outside of church. What are you consuming? Consume worship, consume godly messages on YouTube or whatever. Spend time with God, these types of things. We have to be consuming God, and not just depend on that Sunday service. And
that's also, sorry, yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think then it's also really cool that this podcast come in, right? That you have, that the people can listen to it daily, whether they're in the car, going to work or whatever it is. It's really awesome. It's cool. Yeah.
I love podcasting. Yeah. Today we just launched our first podcast together. Our last name is Monticue. And so our podcast is called Morning with the Monticues. We didn't record it in the morning because it didn't work out. But we recorded episode 1 today and we talked about the differences that we have. And devotional is focused on, we are from different cultures, but God uses the differences to bring us together. And so it was...
Yeah, we have differences between a man and a woman, but we besides that we also have cultural differences. Just like you guys.
I used it to put us together so perfectly, and we don't feel this gap, as coming from, just as you guys, right? Coming from different cultures, nations, languages.
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't matter.
No.
Yeah.
One more thing I would. No, go ahead, Irene.
No, I also wanted to say, because I find it so interesting what you just said about also, the differences and how you, indeed you complement each other. But I think also when it comes to being a missionary or just, you're being called for missions, like at the moment I am, working more like in a corporate job, just to say. And I've been asking myself a lot, God, what do you want me to do in this place, And I see that, God uses people everywhere in different ways. And that also in some way complements, the whole picture of missions globally. Like you can be placed in a place that you're totally, you just don't see the reason for it. But just by being yourself, just by sharing your heart and just your behavior and, just by living after the example of Jesus, God can use you no matter where you are, no matter, in what environment you are. And I think that's so, it's so cool to see, right? Because I see Jonathan and in his experience in the healthcare, what he does and how he does it. And it's just so inspiring to me. And I don't know, I just find it so nice to see, how missions can be done in different ways. Just as long as you have that kind of call in your heart and God can use you anywhere you are. And
I want to encourage you guys with that, because I kind of feel this, like you guys did ministry in Asia. You were physically there, like according to the world, you were a missionary. But now you're working corporate jobs and you feel in your heart, like, am I a missionary still? Like, I want to do it, but like you're in this fight, like I had, I'm not doing what missions looks like, God. What's going on? But our marriage is a mission. Our marriage is a mission. Every day it's a mission, not just because we're ministry. I mean, I'm teaching in English school every day. I'm doing podcasting too. So I'm not doing ministry every single second of my day. And I had to have peace with that, with God, because I want to be used. God, I want to be used. And so every day we're ministries. We're missionaries every day, not just because it's a title, it's a lifestyle. We're available everywhere we go. And so I just want to encourage you guys, exactly what you said, in your work at the hospital or at the corporate job, be a missionary, being used by God.
Yeah. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for your words.
Yeah.
So awesome. guys, this was amazing. I was not expecting this. So thank you
Me
for allowing
neither.
me to bring my wife on. And this has been an amazing episode today. And one more time, the link is below for that necklace. I love the opportunity. I talked with you guys before that this is why I love to do the interview, because our audience get to hear directly from you about your product, your design, your heart behind it. And that goes a long way for people to understand what you're doing, the purpose behind it. And so thank you again for joining us and sharing about that. Anything you want to add or end with us today?
No, just thank you very much for the opportunity, for your words. And I think it was a really cool conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely feel very blessed. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
Of course. And if our other podcast takes off, I hope we can have you come onto that podcast and do another interview. That would be so cool.
It will be amazing.
Yeah, we would love to.
Great. Well, to end this, I'm going to ask my wife if she can end us with a prayer. That would be awesome. Can you do that?
Yes.
Let's pray.
Dear Jesus, thank you so much for this time to know more of your children, Lord. Bless them. I pray for your blessings over them, Lord, and over their business, Lord. And thank you, Lord, because you put this design in their hearts, Lord, and they created something. And thank you for the creativity, Lord. I pray for you to continue to bless their plans, their dreams, and their hearts, Lord, so they know that they are serving you, Lord, with everything they're doing, Lord. And thank you for this moment right now, Lord, and for this conversation. I pray for it to stay in our hearts too, Lord, as encouragement. And I pray in Jesus' name, amen.
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 You've just listened to the Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast with your host, Pastor Chris Busher. Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast was recorded live in studio with final editing made before uploading. Subscribe today to Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast on iTunes or Google Play. For more fantastic daily content, visit Pastor Chris Busher online via Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Don't miss the next episode on Faith and Family Fellowship Podcast.